in.
Nice to meet you.
We're excited. I was excited to meet you.
Thanks for having me.
And excited to have you in here at Lakeview Middle School. And we're looking at a math teaching position. You have some experience teaching math?
I do.
You do? Where have you been? What have you been teaching?
I did a long-term sub position at Shawnee Mission West, which is also where I did my student teaching at. So I ended up spending the entire year with those kids. And then I did a whole year at Lakeview Middle School. So I've had the high school and the middle school experience.
Okay. Well, cool. So the long-term sub, that's kind of a difficult spot to be in, but you ended up staying for a long time. What was it that made it such a good fit?
It was a really easy transition since those were the kids I had student taught with. And so I had already been familiar with like how the class was being run and the students, we'd already had those relationships built. So it was a really easy transition for the kids and for me. So it worked out well.
Sixth grade? Was it sixth grade?
That was high school. So I had 9 through 12, and I taught Algebra 1 and Algebra 2.
Okay, all right. I got to pay as a subject to teach.
Okay. It was a strength of mine growing up, and I just found it really interesting, and mainly because it was my strength. But I'm passionate about it. Like the more I learned about it, the more that I wanted to teach it to kids, and I want it to be something that sparks their interest.
So you still like to learn about math stuff?
Yes, I'm actually getting my master's in math right now.
Really?
Yes.
Where at?
Emporia State.
Emporia State. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll be quite the expert then, huh?
I hope so.
Yeah. So as you are an expert, you're an expert in math, or becoming more and more of an expert in math. You also have to teach it. There's those two parts to it. What are you learning about? What is it that makes you effective in the classroom as an instructor? Not just knowing the material, but being able to relate it. What are some of the things that come to mind in making that? What do you think are the priorities for you as an instructor?
It's really important that my students understand it, and I think because I am an expert and I have such a strong understanding of math, I'm able to relate it to the kids in a way that they'll understand. And also I can connect it to knowledge that they already know. Whereas maybe someone who didn't have as strong of a background, they wouldn't be able to make those connections as easily.
Yeah.
So I like really helping the kids see the connection. So they're not just learning this one thing and it makes no sense, it's just math. It connects to everything else they've learned. So that's really important to me, that they're not just like memorizing things, but they're actually learning it and they're seeing how it applies to their goals and their interests, whether it's just for this year or for their futures if they already know what they want to do. So that's probably my main priority.
Okay, I like that. You were talking about triangles. Do you have an example off the top of your head where you were able to make a connection because of your deep understanding of the content?
With triangles, after we did triangles, we moved on to like surface area, and so we kind of talked about like if you were like a designer and you wanted to like cover chairs with like fabric, you'd have to know the surface area. That would be handy. You don't want to use all this fabric or buy all this fabric when you don't have to buy that much. So the kids were able to really apply that thinking. And I actually had a kid who that's what they want to do.
Okay.
And so it was pretty cool to be like, oh, this is something you need to know.
Yeah, and they got into it. They liked it.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm wondering if there's any other examples you can think of in your year, either in middle school or in the high school, where you just really felt like you hit the nail on the head. You found something that was really successful that you did in the classroom.
I feel like when I give them choice, that's kind of what makes it so successful, because then it's something that's actually important to the students. And something I did in high school was for a final project we had like...
As a team, as you guys work together, obviously, discipline and behavior is a priority, but ultimately it's about academics. What kinds of things would you guys talk about as a team to support academics for, say, a struggling student?
We would put kids on plans for their behavior, but also academically if they were below like a certain GPA.
There's a lot of work that goes into that. I'm just kind of curious, you know, you've had some good experience, you've seen some things, gotten to work with your colleagues and learn from them. Like as you look ahead, you know, coming to our school, what do you see is in the future for you? What are the things that you want to try and accomplish, you can try and do in the classroom?
I want students to be successful, pretty much what everyone says, but that's my ultimate goal is I want them to reach their goals. I want them to have the confidence and to be able to overcome the challenges because not everything's going to be easy.
Yeah.
So just putting like little stepping stones in place so that maybe they can't reach this goal right now, but at least they have like the tools in their toolbox that they need to get there someday.
Well, that's good. When they show up at the beginning of the school year, they're just showing up for math class, right? They might not have any plans necessarily, but you have a plan for them. And that's something that's important to me, that we can communicate to our students where we want them to be. What are some of the things that you've done in your classroom to help the kids? They're in middle school, they're living moment to moment, day to day a lot of times. How do you help them to see a little bit further down the road?
The school that I was at, they were really big on data, and so we would always track data and track goals. And so my students would set a goal. I had them set it for each topic. So in pre-algebra, their topic would be maybe like a week long. So they would say, okay, for this topic.
What parts of that would you take with you, and what parts might you not?
Well, hearing that I had to do that, it was stuff I was already doing just because I think that kids need to see their progress. And I think that they are kind of motivated, especially this past year. I really saw it with the class averages. That was something I would track, and kids would come in and say, did we beat 8th hour? And I'd be like, well, no, you weren't quite there. You know, but they had like this little competition between classes, and I thought that like really motivated them.
Yeah.
And so I'd like to keep that in place, and having them set their own goals I think is important.
Well, I think those are definitely things that motivate kids. It sounds pretty neat. So you're in school right now.
Yes.
How long is your program going to last?
Well, I'm only willing to take one class at a time.
One class at a time?
Because they're pretty difficult. So it'll take me about 4 years.
Okay.
Slow and steady.
But that's taking a slow and steady approach, so you don't get too overwhelmed.
Yes.
That's nice. That's nice. You got a lot of travel involved with that.
Nope. Since Emporia's in Kansas, I'll only have to go up there to take just like my final at the very end. But all of my tests for classes I can take at the Kansas City, Emporia area.
So it's not online necessarily, but it's...
The teaching is online.
Teaching is online.
But the tests have to be proctored, so I have to go into the Kansas City site for that.
That's interesting. I know some of my teachers are looking into things like that. It sounds like an interesting program. Well, I really appreciate you coming in today. We are looking to make a decision here, like in a couple weeks. Sounds like you have some really good experience. It was really nice to hear about your story a little bit, and yeah, I would encourage you to keep doing these things that you were talking about. It sounds like a dynamic classroom.
Thank you. It was really nice to meet you too.
Yeah, we will. I will call you within the week.
Excellent.
All right.